Hello friends, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I really hope that you'll consider subscribing to my channel if you're enjoying the instruction that I'm giving you. So today is going to be a little bit different than the videos that I've been posting recently. Today I'm going to be talking about an overview of Suzuki Book 2. When I originally started this channel, I posted a bunch of Suzuki videos, and I'm wondering if I should go back to posting more Suzuki content, or if I should just keep doing what I've been doing. Definitely let me know in your thoughts in the comments. It would really help me out a lot. So I'm going to be talking about some of the things that we're learning in Book 2, the big overarching themes of Book 2, and I'll also be touching on each of the pieces and telling about what we're learning and what we're practicing in those. So Book 2 is all about developing intonation / tone and the bow. So Book 2 starts off with a few tonalizations at the beginning of the book. The purpose of these tonalizations are to practice hearing ringtones. So ringtones are basically notes on your violin that ring more than others. So for example, the G on the D string, it really resonates. Now say I played like an E flat, it doesn't really resonate as much. So these ringtones are going to be basically naturally occurring overtones of the instrument. And the tonalizations at the beginning of Book 2 are basically just all ringtones. So like I said, the purpose of these tonalizations is to start hearing that ring. Obviously, we do not want to have tapes on our violin forever. And the way that we are going to be able to take them off and still have good intonation is by listening for these ringtones. So that is the whole point of this tonalization. I highly recommend doing the G major tonalization and practicing it in half notes like it's written, and then you can practice it with 4 quarter notes, short kind of strokes, which can help students sometimes hear the ring better. So for instance, hopefully you could hear the ring. In chorus, the first piece of Book 2, we are really focusing on using the whole bow. There's not a ton of points in Book 1 where we're using the whole bow. Maybe Go Talent Roadie if the student is ready for it, maybe long ago, but it's not something that you specifically need to require in Book 1. But here in chorus, we must be using the whole bow on every single note, and again, trying to hear those ringtones. Musette is tricky because of the bowing. We have a lot of different slurs. We have slurs that go from 4 to 2, and we need to be able to pick 4 and 3 up at the same time. And it's kind of a confusing bowing pattern, so we kind of just need to be able to get it straight in our head. Also in musette, we introduced the alternating bowing. This is a bowing technique for patterns of long, short, long, short notes. So on the long bows, we use our whole bow, and then we alternate between the frog and the tip for the short bows. So this is an example of alternating bowing. Beginning of musette. So as you can tell, it was alternating between the frog and the tip. Hunter's chorus is the first time that we actually pick up the bow and we do a lift. This occurs in measures 25 and 26 and 29 and 30. So this is totally new for the bow, right? We've never had the bow lift off the string while playing. So this is a pretty new and different bow technique. Hunter's chorus also incorporates the alternating bowing. In Long Ago, again, we have that same alternating bowing, really getting comfortable using the whole bow and at the extremes of the bow. We're also looking for ringtones. We can start incorporating some dynamics. Here, if you choose to play piano, just use half your bow. That's the easiest way to play quieter. In the variation of Long, Long Ago, we have up bow staccato. Now, this is not new. We saw this all the way back in Minuet 1, but it is a bit faster and it's kind of a finger twister. So it's our second step in our up bow staccato progression. After that, we have waltz, which is a big one for the bow. What we need to do is change bow speeds within a bow stroke. So on the dotted half notes, we need to be using a slow bow, and on the eighth notes, we need to be using a fast bow. So for example, using a significantly slower bow on the dotted quarter notes and using a faster bow on the eighth notes. And the reason we need to do this is because if we don't, this is what's going to happen. We're going to run the bow. So that's a pretty deceivingly difficult thing in waltz. In beret, we're really focusing on the dynamics and using the bow to create those dynamics. So for instance, we have two patterns of eighth notes where we want to be making a crescendo, and to do that, we need to use more bow. I was gradually using more bow as I played that pattern of eighth notes. In preparation for two grenadiers, we need to learn the low one. So to do the low one, it's basically just a backwards extension of your first finger. You're going to move backwards with this big joint right here, and you don't want your hand shape to change. This is also a great time to learn the scales of B flat major and D minor. With the bow in two grenadiers, we have this dotted rhythm, dotted eighth to a 16th, which we haven't had before. And what we need to do is use most of our bow on the dotted eighth and only a little bit on the 16th. And the 16th needs to be connected to the note afterwards. So you can think of it as a ta-da bowing. Ta-da, so. Really, so we have a tight rhythm there. Grenadiers is also really tricky if you're not doing your listening because the pattern kind of changes a lot, so definitely keep that in mind. In Witches Dance, we're again working on that same bowing, and we're also working on rhythm because we have the dotted 8/16 and triplets, so we need to be making a big difference there. There's a lot going on in Gavotte for Mignon. First of all, we have a step in our trill progression, so it's basically a written out trill, and we're working on that lifting up motion because remember, a trill is a lifting up motion, not a pressing down motion. We also have our first chords. We have two chords at the end that are pizzicato. This is a long one. It can be hard for memory and for endurance and for speed. After Gavotte Mignon is usually when I start teaching shifting because in the Lully Gavotte, I teach shift instead of a fourth finger extension. There are two reasons for that. First of all, I've never had a student be successful with the fourth finger extension, and I remember not being successful with the fourth finger extension when I was younger. And second of all, shifting, I feel like is a much more valuable skill to learn than a fourth finger extension. You're going to be shifting all the time. You won't necessarily be using fourth finger extensions all the time. So I'm not going to go over how I teach shifting because I already have a whole video on that on my channel, and I will definitely leave that linked down below. But do shifting exercises, and then I teach the shift there in the Lully. In both Gavotte for Mignon and the Lully, we are also incorporating more bow lifts, so lifting the bow off of the string. So on the Beethoven minuet, we're working again on changing our bow speed within the bow, and we're also working on that dotted 8th to 16th rhythm. In the past, we've always had the bow basically do the rhythm for us. So we stopped the bow, and oh, it's two grenadiers and witches dance. So the bow is the one that's really producing the rhythm. But here in this Beethoven minuet, it's your left hand. So you need to make sure the rhythm is tight there. And for the accents, fast bow, slow bow. So it's kind of this. Very tricky, definitely don't underestimate it. We also have more upper staccato here in the Beethoven. We have 4 under one bow this time. We also have an unparalleled 5th with our second finger, meaning we have a low 2 on A string and high 2 on D string right after another. And finally, in the Boccherini minuet, we're working on a bunch of things. First of all, we have our first full trill with a turn after it. So that little bottom after the trill is a turn. Boccherini minuet is the first time that we need to block a 5th. So to block a 5th, you need to put your finger on 2 strings at once. So my first finger is on 2 strings there. Additionally, the Boccherini is filled with syncopations, especially this part here. You really have to know the piano part to be able to put that together. I also sometimes like to teach a harmonic there, just because it sounds cool and, you know, why not? So as I'm sure you can tell, there's a ton going on in this book. Think about where you are from chorus all the way to the Boccherini. Like I said, really focusing on different bowing patterns, using our whole bow, lifting our bow off of the string, and then left hand wise, we have those trills. We have basically playing faster. We're getting more comfortable with different finger extensions, such as the low 1. We have trills and we have shifting. I hope this gave you a great overview of Suzuki Book 2. As always, if you have any questions at all, please drop them in the comments, and thank you so much for watching.